The 16-bit console wars continue on the Big Retro Show. This time I'm taking a look at games on both the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis in the hack and slash genre to find out which console did them best. A few rules to get out of the way. I'll only be talking about console exclusives in this episode, and not ones that appear on both systems. This video will deal exclusively with side-scrolling hack and slash games, so you won't see any run and guns, beat 'em ups, or overhead action RPGs. This is strictly for side-scrolling hack and slash action. With that out of the way, let's see which console did a better job of representing the hack and slash genre. They say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and if that's the case, Strider on the Sega Genesis has something to be flattered about. Saber is a hack and slash action game set in a futuristic world where you play as one of two cyborg heroes who are out to save humankind. It's the year 2998 and the Earth's atmosphere has become so contaminated with toxic pollution that the Earth was on the verge of a complete ecological breakdown, and there was this scientist dude named Dr. Buford who tried to harness fusion energy to save it, but instead it was subjected to radioactive energy that transformed him into a powerful mutant being who was hell-bent on erasing all signs of humanity. I know what you're thinking, who cares? Let's kick some ass. You play as either Alan Thunder Saber or Sheena Ice Saber. Both play the same and have no special movesets to mention other than their super attacks. The game is a 2D linear hack and slash that mirrors many elements of games like Strider, down to the way you slide to attack enemies, grab onto the environment like a ninja, and flip around enemies taking them out with your saber. The game does have some movesets you won't see in Strider, including this plasma kick that you can use against foes, or this spin move just like Samus Aran's screw attack from Metroid. These attacks are what sets this game apart. That and that the character models seem a bit smaller than they do in Strider. Anyhow, the game has 5 missions in which you can team up with a friend and play co-op and take on the evil army of Dr. Buford. The game can be challenging as there are limited continues and limited lives, but overall it's relatively short and all about memorization. Once you have that down, you won't have any problem finishing this game. Saber is an enjoyable game that fans of hack and slash games should definitely play. And best of all, for fans of the Super Nintendo, it didn't appear on the Sega Genesis. So take that, Sega! Wait just a darn minute, Super Nintendo fans. Have you forgotten about the greatness that is Strider on the good old Sega Genesis? That's right, the Sega Genesis was the only 16-bit console to release an arcade-perfect port of Strider, and boy, it was a major coup for the Sega Genesis. For the unfamiliar, Strider is a futuristic ninja dude who has a wicked haircut and a freakishly long set of Gymkata moves that he uses to destroy his enemies. This was one of my favorite games in the arcade, and I spent much time and money trying to get far on the game. As the story goes, a series of disasters has led to the Earth's demise. Big problem. An even bigger problem, though, is this alien dude named Mio who has destroyed 80% of the world before the Strider crew sent over their youngest A-class Strider named Hiru to take them out. Playing as Strider is a joy because he's incredibly nimble and can jump, slide, and grab onto the things with the greatest of ease. He wields this sword that makes a cool slash sound when you use it, and that's really all he needs. There are some power-ups in the game to give you extra health and give you nanobots to help fight the baddies. Overall, you go from level to level, taking out bad guys, doing a bit of platforming, and taking on the bosses at the end of the stages. There's really no shortage of cool things to look at and kill. This as a game, as I mentioned before, was a huge feather in the cap of Sega, because prior to the game being released on the Genesis, the only version that it had was on the OG Nintendo, and that version was more of a Metroidvania. It was good, but it lacked the look and feel of the arcade. Sega never let you forget that either. They used marketing to woo gamers and made it a point to mention that it was the first 8 meg game ever. So take that, Super Nintendo! 8 mega power is fun and all, but is it as fun as playing as a badass ninja cyborg warrior? Because on the good old Super Nintendo is the only place you can play the Ninja Warriors. I first came across the Ninja Warriors universe on a trip to Great America Theme Park. It was one of these cabinets in the arcade over there, and I begged my mom to give me some quarters so I can play it, instead of riding on the rides. I fell in love with the game right then and there. Now the SNES version is not a perfect arcade port of the arcade game. It's actually a whole lot better. In the Ninja Warriors, you can play as one of the 3 Terminator-like ninjas. There's a strong dude of the bunch, aptly named Ninja, the fast but weaker Kamataichi, and the well-rounded dude named Kunoichi. As you guessed it, each has their own strengths and weaknesses, but they are all equally badass. Throughout the game's 8 stages, you'll be fighting a variety of enemies that are really fun to fight. The combat in this game isn't true blue hack and slash per se, although a lot of the enemies go down with one slash or one hack. But there's a good beat 'em up element baked into the game as well. The story in this game has to do with the 3 ninjas setting out to stop this dwarf mutant dude named Bangalore the Tyrant. Old Bangalore commands an army of brainwashed warriors and mutants, and he is using them to keep the world in check. Except for this one dude named Mulk who sets you and your fellow ninjas into battle to overthrow the armies of Bangalore. Yeah, I know, once again, who cares? Let's just kick some ass. And a lot of ass kicking you will be doing with these characters as they hack, slash, throw, and use their special moves to cut through the enemies in the game. The bosses in this game are really rather fun to fight. The animations and sounds when you defeat them make for a satisfying time. This is a banger of a title, and the fans of the Super Nintendo praise this game and use it as a tool to argue against Sega fanboys in arguments over which system won the console wars. So take that, stupid Sega! Aw, how cute, an SNES ninja game. But it's nothing when it comes to holding it up against perhaps the greatest ninja in video game history. Of course, I'm talking about Joe Musashi, the legendary OG Shinobi. And it was Joe's game, Revenge of Shinobi, that made me want to buy a Sega Genesis in the first place. This game is a timeless classic and set the stage for the greatness that was to come on the Sega Genesis. This is not an arcade port of the Shinobi arcade game. For starters, you are wearing white. How often do you see ninjas wearing white? Back in the day, only G.I. Joe's Storm Shadow wore white, and he was a badass. It tripped me out back then and made me want to play this game. In Revenge of Shinobi, you play as Joe Musashi and you must take down the Neo-Z gang as they attempt to take over the world. You never sleep, you're relentless. You have ninja stars that need people to bury themselves into, and you have all new ninja magic to use. What more can you want? From the one that makes you jump higher to the one that makes you explode in your final act of violence, injuring all the enemies on the screen. This is a ninja game that most of the 90s kids grew up on. This game is pretty straightforward. You got your sword slash, your shurikens, a jump button that lets you double jump, and your ninja magic, and therein lies its simplicity. One of the things that I love about this game that they erased from the latter versions of the game was that there were tons of pop culture characters in the game, from Rambo to Batman. Well, the owners of those IPs didn't take too kindly to Sega using them without clearance, so later versions of the game don't have these characters, and there are tons of them. What makes this game a lot of fun is the whole ninja mystique. There are no cute colors here, only old school ninja mystique and some of the best tunes you have ever heard in a game. I swear our parents must have thought we were into club music as kids because it was pumping through the TV from the game. It certainly felt like it as a kid playing this. Anyhow, Revenge of Shinobi is a game that no one on the Super NES got to play, and that's because Sega owned the game. Sure, you can play it basically everywhere now, but back in the day, it was all about the Sega Genesis. Yeah, Joe Musa, I don't give a damn. Don't tell me you've never heard of Hegane, the Final Conflict. This is a ninja game every bit as badass as Shinobi, and you can only play this game on the Super Nintendo. I've never heard of this game before, and this game totally missed me during the SNES heyday, and that's what I love about retro gaming. There's always going to be a game that you missed out on that you can play now as an adult. Anyhow, in Hegane, you play as a ninja dude named Hegane. He is part of the Fuma Ninja clan, and as it happens, your entire clan was murdered by a rival clan named the Koma. Why, you may ask? Well, if you must know, it's because they've been plotting to destroy everyone using the Holy Grail. Yeah, I don't know, but to do that they must first steal it from your clan, and everyone except you died in the process. So off you go to get revenge on those pesky Fumas. But little did they know that you are now a cyborg ninja capable of wielding multiple weapons of murder and of course, ninja magic. Okay, alright. I'm like you, I don't give a damn about the story. Just show me where to kill. And killing you will be doing in this game using a variety of swords and weapons, such as bombs and ninja stars to dispose of your rivals. This game sort of reminds me of a cross between Ninja Gaiden and the aforementioned Ninja Warriors game. The game shares several elements of those games, including the light platforming and that hack and slash gameplay. Each stage has multiple mini levels and you must progress on a linear, side-scrolling playfield until you hit the boss. I gotta say the boss fights in this game are really fun, and sometimes too easy. But that's okay, I had fun fighting the bosses and seeing all this game has to offer. As Hegane, you can do ninja flips and kicks, in conjunction with your vast array of weaponry, of course. You get a limited supply of bombs and the like, but it's never a problem refilling the weapons since your enemies constantly drop ammo and items such as health power-ups and ninja magic for you to use. The game's graphics and sounds are some of the best on the good old Super Nintendo, and for the most part they play up to a more serious tone with a lot of darker colors. You won't find any pizza-eating, Foot Clan green dudes here, oh no. This is more of a serious game for all you ninja game lovers. Now, Hegane is another true blue hidden gem that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and it stands toe-to-toe with some of Sega's hardest hitting hack and slash action games. So suck it, Sega! Yeah, hidden gems that aren't hidden gems. I've heard that before. Everyone is always talking about hidden gems that aren't hidden gems. But let's talk about a game that no one is talking about that is actually a hidden gem. Let's talk about Saint Sword on the good old Sega Genesis. This is a game that is probably the epitome of a hack and slash type game that this video is trying to convey. It's really quite simple. You run around with a sword and kill everything in sight, wielding magical powers, turning into magical creatures, and stomping on the bosses. This is what I love about the genre. No fantasy stories, no stupid cutscenes, just get up and go. In Saint Sword, you play as a mighty titan warrior dude named Macris, who is out to defeat the evil Gorgon. To do this, you must collect 6 lost treasures that have been scattered throughout the land. Macris is no ordinary titan. He can transform into a centaur, a winged dude, and a merman to travel faster, jump higher, swim through the seas, and fly in the air. This game spans 7 chapters in which you will be slicing and dicing all manner of mythical creatures. You must first slash your way to the enemy that is carrying the key where the boss is waiting. Some of the boss fights can be hit or miss. They can be easy depending if you have the right power-ups or difficult if you don't. The enemies drop icons representing the ability to transform into a mythical creature, get mana, or health. After defeating the bosses in this stage, you get one of the mythical treasures that do a variety of things, such as destroy everything on the screen, freeze time, become invincible to attacks for a short time, and other powers. Your character levels up by slashing away at enemies, and once you do, your sword slash becomes quicker and can do more damage. This game is a pretty straightforward hack and slash with good graphics and sound that not everyone knows about. I take this as a win for the Sega Genesis since you know, you can't play it on the lame ass Super Nintendo, so there you go. Just when you think the Sega Genesis has wrapped up this genre, think again. You didn't realize that the good old SNES is the only place you can play Musa, the classic Japanese horror game. This is one that surely flew under my radar, but I'm glad that I played it for this episode. You play as a young spearman dude named Imoto, who is out on a quest to stop the evil one, who is trying to bust out of his gate to take over the world. Okay. Just show me who to kill, goddammit. But your only mission isn't just to stop the evil one. You must rescue a girl named Shizuka. It's always about a girl, isn't it? This is a game that's heavily influenced by Japanese lore and mythos, and it plays a little on the slower side of things. As Imoto, you wield your spear to take out all sorts of horror-inspired creatures, and have a bit of magic and the samurai spirits to help you from time to time. The combat in this game can be quite satisfying as you basically spear your way through the enemies, and your spin move to form a shield around you when you need it. The game lets you level up your spear, and by the time you reach the later levels, your spear is crazy powerful. The game's level design is ripped out of a Japanese horror movie, and I love it. It reminds me a lot of Castlevania and Splatterhouse. It's eerie, especially this stage with skulls and pikes. I like that the developers use their creativity in this stage, but that they have to creep us the hell out so much? Anywho, each stage consists of a couple of sub-stages before you get to the stage boss. Most of these bosses are really easy to defeat, but they are fun to fight nonetheless. You go to the game's 8 levels and there are some repetitions of the levels here, with just the final boss of the stage being different in the repetitive levels. The game's enemies are weird, but I like that. I guess I'm just not used to the whole Japanese horror stuff. The game does have some flaws. For one, your character moves really damn slow. I'm used to characters like Strider moving rather quickly and making fast work of their enemies, but not good old Imoto. The other flaw is the game's platforming. It can be frustrating to say the least. Some of the jumps require pixel perfect timing and it can be frustrating. The game's hit detection also makes it difficult to truly enjoy this game as it was meant to be enjoyed. The game drops power-ups, magic scrolls, and health regeneration, but it pays to become extremely careful as you progress through each stage because your enemies can and will hit you, even if you think you hit them first. The game likes to toy with your emotions that way. The other part of this game that I consider a flaw, it's the music. It's repetitive and made me want to mute the game at all times, which is just a sign that the music sucks. I powered through though, but I highly recommend if you play this game to mute it. The sound that your character makes when he attacks reminds me a little bit of Yi Kung Fu. I like that nostalgic feeling. When you are hit though, he makes it sound as if he's crying. I don't like that. Aside from the game's flaws, I had fun with this one, and I think you will too. This isn't a Shinobi killer or anything like that, but it's an interesting addition to the SNES library that you can't play on that stinky Sega Genesis. We all know who won the battle of which 16-bit console brought the arcade experience home, right? And one of the reasons that the Sega Genesis won is because of the games like Kadash. This is probably one of the only arcade RPG games that I know of, and the Sega Genesis port was every bit as fun as the arcade. Well, almost. The Genesis version only lets you be the warrior and wizard characters found in the arcade game. The ninja and the priestess found in the arcade are nowhere to be found on the console. It's not a deal breaker, but it would have been cool to have been able to play these characters on the good old Sega Genesis. Kadash isn't a true blue RPG, say like a Final Fantasy game. It's more of an action hack and slash game that has RPG elements. The game doesn't let you improve your characters with different skills, but you do get to level them up, which makes their attacks a lot stronger. In Kadash, you must rescue a princess from an evil wizard who summons the power of the Balrog, but there is no cohesive map at play. You just wander from screen to screen, portal to portal, and doorway to doorway. I can't imagine them pulling up a map in the arcade, so this style of gameplay makes sense. There's a lot of dialogue to listen to in this game, but most of it can be skipped if you know where you're going. The combat in this game is hack and slash in its purest form. If you are playing this game as a barbarian, the wizard fires his wizard staff, so playing it as a wizard gives you more of a run and gun feel. The game champions grinding out levels and money that you can use to upgrade your equipment. There is a wide variety of mythical creatures for you to kill, adding to the whole Dungeons and Dragons feel of the game. The game features items that you must recover to go on. For example, grab a key to open the door to fight the boss, place a charm on a grave so that you can get the item that lets you talk to dogs, and you get the idea. It's all very much RPG light. This is a difficult game to master if you aren't familiar with it, and in the arcades, it's probably a good idea to bring tons of quarters because it is a challenging experience. The game allows you to buy extra lives, potions, and with a code let you put it in free play mode, which is what I did. If you don't put it in free play mode, you get 3 continues. Kadash has great graphics, music, and sounds, and is a standout on the good old Sega Genesis, and not on that kiddie Super Nintendo. Here goes another hidden gem that a lot of you guys love to hear about. Excalibur 2097 is a game that I have never heard of anyone talk about on YouTube, and it fits perfectly for this episode. And all the Super Nintendo heads will love this game because, of course, you can't play it on the sucky Sega. Oh no, this is a game that you can only play on the SNES. The game resembles a cross between Highlander, Blade Runner, and the Terminator movies. You play as a dude named Slash who wields this mighty Excalibur sword. The year is 2097 and life has halted to a standstill. No jobs to go to, no parks to walk in. Countries and cities have been swallowed by warlords, dividing the globe. A dude named Raptor rules what's now called Neo New York with an army of mutants, and it's up to you to stop him from controlling the world and stealing your sword. He kidnaps your partner Alex, and it's your job to rescue her and defeat Raptor. The game is a straightforward hack and slash game with light platforming elements that places you in the role of Slash. You get 3 attacks, a jab attack, a power attack, and a power slash that acts as a projectile, which is quite weak. The game's enemies are rather nonchalant about your powerful sword, as they take several hits to go down, and basically ignore your projectile attack. I was a little bit disappointed by this because this is supposed to be the most powerful sword known to man. It's basically a lightsaber and should be slashing through fools with the greatest of ease, but sadly it doesn't. The game also lets you block attacks, which comes in handy, and also lets you do a jump slash attack to take out your enemies. Each stage is comprised of a couple of stages and a stage boss, which are all defeated using a combination of the 3 attacks. Some of the combos work for a few or more of the bosses, while other combos need to be timed and mixed up for the other bosses. The bosses can be tough, but once you figure out the right attack pattern, they go down pretty easily. They are still fun to fight, and I rather enjoyed the dialogue you have with them right before the fight. I don't know how the game's developers got away with some of these bosses though, if you know what I mean. The game's atmosphere is dark and gritty, and I love games like this. I sure as hell hope that when 2097 comes along, it looks nothing like that. I'll surely be gone by then, so if you can do me a favor and rewatch this video in 2097, leave me a comment and let me know. Anyhow, the game's challenge is up there, and you'll have to power through some bouts of frustration, mainly with the way that the enemies seem to take all of your hits and love to regenerate all the time. I swear in some stages I just kept running and avoiding the enemies, even if they hit me, because there's really no use in killing them because they don't drop anything. The game has no power-ups or anything to enhance your abilities, but you know what? I'm okay with that. Not all games need a power-up. A true blue hack and slash fan only needs his sword to enjoy the game, and that's what this game is going for. The game lets you replenish your health by destroying these containers sprinkled throughout the levels. You can continue up to 5 times in this game, and you are probably using all of them if you are going to beat it. Despite the game's challenge, I'm glad I played it because this is a true blue hack and slash that no one talks about, and you can only play it on the Super Nintendo. Can someone please tell me why game developers thought it was a good idea to make an addictive game that's nearly impossible to beat? What is it? Sadism? Whatever it is, the developers of Blades of Vengeance had no mercy on Sega Genesis owners back in the day. I was looking for a side-scrolling hack and slash game to quench my thirst for Golden Axe, because of course Golden Axe is a beat 'em up and not really a true blue hack and slash game. So I thought I'd check out Blades of Vengeance. Choose from 3 characters, make them look like they belong in a Conan the Barbarian movie? Check. Throw on the 2-player co-op? Check. Blades of Vengeance should have checked all the boxes for a truly epic hack and slash. I mean, just look at these graphics. What makes this game so difficult is that there are no continues. 0. Zilch. You get 2 lives to start out with and you're on your own. You take on 8 stages of monsters to kill with the bosses at the end of each stage. It wouldn't be such a bad deal in my opinion if there weren't so much damn platforming in this game, and things that can easily drain your life. The game does have health potions and other useful items sprinkled throughout the levels, but if you aren't memorizing these stages and most of all, recognizing the attack patterns of your enemies and crouching to block incoming attacks, you won't last long. The enemies in this game can be brutal if you don't know their attack patterns. They're pretty easy to figure out, but it just takes one of their hits to do quite a bit of damage. The game has a bevy of power-ups. Use the gold at the end of each boss fight to buy items such as potions, extra lives, and armor. The armor in this game is a game changer because it protects you a lot better. The game has a slight RPG element in that you must find keys and such to open doors and find chests and ways out of the dungeon. It can require a bit of backtracking here and there. At any rate, once you memorize the game's levels and learn the enemy attack patterns, you start to have fun with the game. The male and female warriors play pretty much the same. The wizard starts out with a missile attack, so if you want a true blue hack and slash experience, you're going to want to start out with the fighters. It's really one of these old school games that gives plenty of challenge and does not hold your hand like a lot of these modern games be doing. Now, I realize I left out a lot of games in each of the system's libraries that may or may not have tipped the scales for either console. But in my opinion, there's only one outcome that I am leaning towards. That's right, it's a tie. Both systems have exclusive games that fit the hack and slash genre, and quite a few of them have hack and slash elements that make both systems a winner in my eyes. Here's just a few games that I didn't mention, and really the reason why I think both consoles did a great job of representing hack and slash gameplay.